Good evening. Time having arrived, Tuesday, January 5th, 2021, it being 7 p.m. I'm going to call open the Brockton School Committee meeting to order. I do have to read the following into the record. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and state of emergency on March 12th, 2020, Governor Baker issued an executive order temporarily suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, which is Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. Pursuant to the order, public bodies are temporarily relieved from the open meeting law's requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physically accessible to the public, so long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberation through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be held and will be accessible to the public via Brockton Community Access, Brockton Public Schools website, which is www.bpsma.org. YouTube and Comcast channel 98, not channel 12 this evening, channel 98. The public can also access this meeting via the following link, www.youtube.com/TheBrocktonChannels. I do want to wish everybody a happy and healthy 2021. Look forward to working with each and every one of you. We do have to take a vote right now to open up a quorum. The chair, Sullivan, says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino?
Yes.
Joyce Azak?
Yes.
Cynthia Rivas Mendez?
Yes.
Tom Minicello? Tony Rodriguez? Judy Sullivan? I think you're muted, Judy.
Yes.
Judy Sullivan. Timothy Sullivan?
Yes.
We have enough votes here for quorum and to establish a meeting as such. I will now ask us to please rise and salute our American flag. I pledge allegiance
To
To the flag
of the United States of
States of America
and to the
of the republic for which
for which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. I am going to recognize Dr. Rick Herman is here tonight, who again is the chief medical consultant for the city of Brockton during COVID-19. With that being said, I know Dr. Rick has a conflict tonight, so I would like to entertain a motion to take Dr. Rick out of order. He is slated to be subsection B of item 10 on the agenda tonight. Is there a motion to please take Dr. Rick out of order?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to take Dr. Rick out of order, item 10B. And so I'll make that motion.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second to that, please?
Second.
The motion made by Mr. D'Agostino is properly seconded by both Judy and Tim Sullivan. I will read the roll. Sullivan, the chair, says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez?
Yes.
Mr. Minicello? Mr. Rodriguez? Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
That is enough to let the motion carry. We will now take agenda item 10B, which is learning and teaching Dr. Richard Herman, FACEP Pandemic Consultant - COVID-19 Metrics Update. I will take that out of order. Dr. Rick, good evening.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for accommodating me tonight. And I want to echo the Mayor and wish everyone a happy new year, and thanks for inviting me back to provide an update. So we've been through this before, and I'm going to follow the same pattern, which is to start at the top and give an overview of what's going on in a national level, and very, very quickly bring it right down to the city of Brockton. So we are on pandemic day 298 in the city, back from March 14th when we had our first case. When I saw you last, which was December 15th, the nation had just reached the milestone of 300,000 deaths, and updated as of today, we're now up to 350,000 deaths. So on a national level, things are moving relatively quickly. On a state level, when I saw you last December 15th, we were at 286,000. Yesterday, the state changed the look on its dashboard, so it doesn't quite go apples to apples, but when you go, it's a very interesting dashboard. You can play around and look at all kinds of statistics if you just go to the Massachusetts Department of Public Health COVID page and can look at any city and town around the Commonwealth and figure out how things are going. This is 2020. So this is what happened in 2020. 8,838 cases. Now this is based on what's called specimen date. So the date that the swab was actually obtained or the specimen was obtained. So there still are a few stragglers in that, as you know, sometimes it takes a little while for that test result to come back. The average right now is about 3 days, but that's the average. So some are coming back in 1 and some are coming back in 5 or 6. So we're almost there, almost at the total. It's starting to level off, but this is what it looked like in 2020, an average for the city of Brockton, 30 cases a day throughout the 300 days of the pandemic. And this is what the actual graph looks like. So you can see the spike in the spring after Thanksgiving, a very, very sharp uptick. And then I think COVID doesn't know what it wants to do at the end of December right here. We have days where we hit over 100 people, and then it drops down to 15 people. And it's, very, very haphazard right now and not quite sure which direction it wants to go. And we'll talk about that in a sec. This is just a throwback to December 15th. When I spoke with you last, there were 327 people that had died, 1,500 cases active in the city. This is tonight's dashboard that was just posted an hour or so ago. We're now up to nearly 9,000 cases overall, 348 deaths with 2 more reported today, and over 2,000 active cases. And of course, the metric that concerns me the most really right now is our hospitals. To see 86 people combined in the 2 hospitals with 20 in the intensive care units, several of whom are on ventilators, means that the healthcare system is being stressed. And if you've been in one of the hospitals recently, you'll feel it very, very tight in terms of resources. So just a reminder of looking way back, ancient history of having greater than 10 cases per day. That's a long time ago that we exceeded that. This is what our neighbors are doing. Excuse me for that. This is what our neighbors are doing over the last month, over the month of December. And it's looking at the 2-week period, the red, yellow, green number for 2-week intervals over the period in December. And you can see that all of our neighbors are in the red area, many of them with numbers higher than Brockton. But if you add up the population and look at the daily case count over the entire region, we're at about 64.4, which is identical to the city of Brockton. This is the hospitalization that I told you about I was concerned about. For the longest period, it had remained relatively flat and then started to creep up in October and November, and certainly in December really took off significantly. I put the arrow at 50, as you recall. That's the threshold that I look at as 15% of the hospital beds combined occupied by COVID patients indicates widespread spread in the community and starts to tax the resources of the hospitals. So this is a concern where hospitals have now altered their behavior, canceled elective surgery, canceled various elective outpatient procedures, et cetera, just to make room for the COVID patients. And this is what the death count has looked like since the start of the pandemic. And I've just presented it in a little different way than we've looked at it before, just kind of a weekly tally to kind of see how it's played out over the course of the year. We're up to 348, as I said. And if you superimpose the death count with the hospitalizations, so the hospitalization is that faint blue in the background with the trend line of yellow, and the big blue bars are the death count. Usually what happens is the death count and deaths lag behind the testing and hospitalization by several weeks. So they lag behind the testing by about 3 weeks. So unfortunately, as the hospitalizations go up, the conventional wisdom says that we can expect to see the death count also go up to reflect the rising hospitalizations. I'm not saying that's good news, but it's or that it's even going to happen, but that's what has happened in the past during this pandemic. And this is in the city of those 346 patients that have died. This is the age group. You can see no kid, no teenager, no millennial, 2 people in the 30-year age group, 4 in the 40 age group. It's really the mortality is really affecting those in the higher age groups. This is what testing looks like. This is the PCR testing over the course of the pandemic. And this, each bar is a week and a percentage. And you can see it's kind of come up even over the 30% range of PCR testing over a 1 week period at the end of December. This is mirroring it, that this is just data that Brockton Neighborhood Health Center shared with me today from their Brockton residents at the health center. Also in the 20% range, so nearly identical, significant amount of COVID in the community right now. This is what our red, yellow, green number has been since the end of October. And Thursday, we'll get another number. It's a little bit tough to predict, such because the numbers are so high, but I think it's going to start going up, actually. And so my guess is it'll be sort of in that 68 number when the number comes out on Thursday, just reflecting some of the post-Christmas surge that we might expect to see after the holiday. This is a breakdown, all comers, all tests, since the beginning of the pandemic, what the curve looks like, just in terms of actual numbers of cases that we've seen for city residents. And just comparing it against side by side, the right-hand side is a breakdown in the month of December. The left-hand side is all comers, all time, all cases, just to kind of see that things are kind of evening out again. We saw a big bump in young people after the summer, and now it's kind of coming across all ages once again, with the exception that the greater than 80 age group still is staying pretty well protected. We do continue every Thursday to meet with the CTC, the Community Tracing Collaborative, to review in depth where our cases are coming from. It's not as good as it sounds. I wish it were. I wish we really knew where all the cases were coming from, but a lot of people don't talk to us. A lot of people don't answer their calls or call us back. And a lot of people just don't know where their cases come from, but some of them do, and we can identify close contacts, clusters, households, spread in various congregate settings and workplaces. And these are identified and followed up on by either the CTC or the Board of Health. So let's break it down and look at the kids. When I was here last, so this is December 15th, a few weeks ago, we were at 623 kids under the age of 18, with 5 hospitalized. Nobody made it to the ICU, nobody died. And now we're up to 785, so the 100 plus patients in that interval. Again, nobody has made it to the ICU, no additional hospitalizations, no additional deaths. And this is as of a few hours ago. And don't forget that current testing turnaround time is about 3 days. So any tests we get now, sort of really kind of just reflect back to January 1st or 2nd at this point. So this is the monthly breakdown. We now have, I think, a fairly complete month of December. There might be 1 or 2 stragglers that continue to roll in, but I think it's pretty accurate. And we're just starting with a couple of days of results in January. But this is what it's looked like for children in the city of Brockton under the age of 18. And just another way of looking at it is kind of to look at it week by week by week. And you can see that we had a big uptick after Thanksgiving, and then things came down, and it looks like it wants to start another uptick after Christmas. But again, it's really too early to tell a trend by 1 week. But just again, by what sort of people smarter than me think is going to happen is that there will be another uptick after Thanksgiving, after Christmas, similar to the one that we saw after Thanksgiving. Breakdown by ages, if you really want to kind of get into the weeds and break it down and see the age group of folks that are affected under the age of 18. Again, if we add, I'm adding the 18 through 21-year-olds here just to see that there have been more than a handful of cases since the beginning. And then this is by school age group. Again, preschool, pre-K, elementary school, middle school, and high school. So since the start of the pandemic, 241 high school age kids have been affected. So not all bad news. When I was here on the 15th, the vaccines had a couple of vaccines had gotten emergency use authorization. And now here we are at the beginning of the year, and 3 vaccines have been approved for full use. Those, interestingly, that's not the US vaccines. We have not given full use approval to anybody yet. We only have emergency use authorization for Moderna and Pfizer, but other countries, Canada and China, have approved vaccines for use, and the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, others have been limited. But these are the 2 vaccines that have made their way into Brockton. The hospitals and the health center have started vaccinating. The first responders, police and fire and EMS, are on deck for Monday, a week from yesterday, to get their vaccines over the following week. And we're hopefully having a light at the end of a pretty long tunnel, but hopefully this provides some sense of hope and optimism for folks over the first half of the year as people get immunized. I would say probably my guess is through April. I'm hoping through April, through May, to get folks immunized. These are some of the other vaccines that are on deck, all in phase 3, the final phase of their trials, clinical trials, and will. Now, some have emergency use in other countries. Some have full approval. And we find some strange bedfellows. The Oxford AstraZeneca folks are teaming up with the Sputnik 5, the Russian folks from Gamaleya Institute. And they're going to mix them half and half and try a new vaccine out and see if that works. But lots of work in this year, I think, is going to lead to some success in other vaccines besides the ones that we currently have, and maybe even some vaccines that require only a single dose. So I think I'm going to stop at that point, and hopefully that's given you some overview of where we are just in terms of the statistics, and happy, Mayor, to answer any questions that folks have.
Thank you, Dr. Herman. And as always, on behalf of the school committee, we thank you. I mean, you always do a deep dive, a huge deep dive on the metrics and the statistics. And up-to-date, real-time data. So thank you, Dr. Rick. And I'm going to open it up to my colleagues on the school committee. If anybody has any questions at all for Dr. Herman, I see Mr. D'Agostino, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Dr. Herman. As always, again, you come and give us the deep dive that we need to help aid us in our decisions. And so we appreciate all the work that goes into that. I wanted to ask, we're starting to hear about another strand, a different strand that's mutated from the COVID-19 we've been dealing with. What, and I apologize if this is a difficult question to ask you, but how concerned should we be about that? How concerning is that? Do you think, is the medical community really concerned about it? Or these vaccines that are out and coming out, do they think they'll address that?
Right. So the answer is I don't know and I don't know, but I'll give you the asterisk that goes on the bottom of that, which is, there's lots of variations. So lots of mutations that are come out. The one that's gotten the most press, of course, is this UK variant, but also there's one in South Africa that has some legs to it and is making itself known. We have seen this UK variant in the US. We don't know how widespread it is because surveillance testing hasn't been accomplished yet to look at that. It is, from what I understand, it seems to be more contagious than the original variant. However, the going knowledge base seems to be that because of the actual mutation on the spike protein, that does not cause any kind of sort of mechanical variation in the protein. People seem to think that the current vaccines would be effective against this new variant. So I don't sense a large amount of anxiety out there in the community. And I'm very encouraged when someone like Dr. Fauci, my new hero, says that he feels that the new variant will not be an issue for the vaccines and that the vaccines will be effective against it. So it's not high on the top of the anxiety list, but I think it's, whether it's this variant or one to come, I think people have got to pay attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. D'Agostino. Any additional members on the school committee have a question for Dr. Herman? Does Mr. Superintendent have a question at all for Dr. Herman?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor. So, Dr. Herman, we're, as you know, we had a target date to return to school on Tuesday, the 19th for our high needs students with disabilities, and then on February 1st, phasing in other students. So obviously, you don't tell us what to do, or you give us your recommendations, and the school committee we make a decision on what to do with that. But how long do you see, in your best guesstimate, the surge, the holiday surge going?
It's a tough one. That is a tough one. I don't have a crystal ball. Quite honestly, the numbers are, sort of paradoxically actually coming down right now. And so it's tough to predict what's going to happen. But these surges, go on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and certainly did that after Thanksgiving. It looked like about 3 weeks before it started to come back down again. I think no matter what you decide, I think, the decision to proceed when opening up for any number of populations that are going to come back, whether you limit the population that comes back or open it up fully. I think just the preparation has got to be in place. The education, the preparation. Again, I would advocate testing any kind of plan that you have, and the knowledge that it's in your community, and it will occur in every school. So if you open up a school, it will be there. and it's not wrong or bad, and the world doesn't have to come to a crashing halt because you have a case, but you need to be prepared to know how to mitigate. So, put the proper measures in place to keep things as safe as they possibly can be, and then have an action plan in place for what happens when, and fill in the blank. And I know that those exist, and other school systems are following those, and that the actual spread within a school, seems to be limited. Yet there are school systems that do have some clusters and outbreaks. So I think the main thing to do is to be prepared ahead of time, and not be surprised when a school does have a case, because it will happen, especially in Brockton. You can see the numbers that we've had hundreds and hundreds of kids already affected, and there's no reason to suspect that that won't continue over the next several months. We're not at herd immunity. We're not at vaccination immunity. We're still in a spreading phase, not in a protection phase. So, the decision has just got to be made that with the understanding that there will be cases, that you feel comfortable with dealing with those, and have a plan in place for when they do occur.
Thank you.
I just want to give an update relative to a different municipality, because I have a family member that lives in the town of Situate. And today, the superintendent of Situate, because of the uptick in COVID cases over Christmas break, they just received word that effective tomorrow, all schools in that town will be remote for the next 2 weeks. They had a hybrid. So, I think that if we look at what Dr. Rick has given us, plus looking at what we learned from the holiday known as Thanksgiving, we can anticipate some type of spike, whatever that means. So thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for asking that question. And any additional questions from any members of the school committee for Dr. Herman? Seeing,
I just had a comment.
sure, Mrs. Sullivan, please.
Okay, I'm working in for Weymouth Public right now, and I'm going to tell you, when there's a case in the schools, the health department steps right up, and they block everything off. They're not allowed to come into the school. Everything is just, the people that have the virus are removed from the school for 2 weeks. So I think, and the health department does an awesome job. They work around the clock to make sure everybody's safe. And I'm sure that's going to happen in Brockton too, because we have a very good nursing staff headed by Linda Cahill. And I know that the nurses are just fabulous. Weymouth is going to vote this week to bring back full person classes. So, and I mean, they're in the red too. I don't know what their numbers are compared to Brockton, but they have a very diverse community now in Weymouth. So it's a lot more diverse than when I lived there. So there's not just, a certain ethnic group there. There's all diverse people there now. So, you've got a multiple thing there, and I just can't believe the job that they do to separate it and to move everybody out that has anything. And they have like an isolation period and they have a quarantine period, and they both mean different things. And the nurse goes over that with the parents and the teachers and everything. And what I'm seeing is mostly teachers are catching it from not in the school, but outside socializing. They're catching it, and it's not being caught in the school, because there was a child in the room I was in that came down with it, and I considered myself a close contact. So I quarantined for 2 weeks. Thank God I didn't get the virus. But those are the things that they're doing, and they do an awesome job. Thank you. Thank you for your report, Dr. Herman.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan.
And so, Mr. May, I just got some, I worked with Dr. Moran today from HR and her staff to get some numbers from, obviously we have to track active COVID cases and close contacts of anybody obviously working in the school department. So current, and I had them give me the numbers since, and this was since November 27th. So since November 27th, we've had a total of 69 staff members test positive for COVID. We are still waiting the results of 14 other staff members who are quarantined at this moment. So between the quarantines and the members that have tested positive, the employees have tested positive, we're at 220 since November 27th. So just to give you numbers for, obviously we don't have student numbers because we're not in school, but that's the tracking, like Mrs. Sullivan said, that we would have to be doing when students return. We'd have to obviously let families know if there's cases in school and who has to quarantine and notify close contacts. There is a clear plan in place for that we put in place during our reopening committee meetings and our reopening plan. But those are the numbers right now for staff members, and that's staff members. That's total staff members. That's every group of employees we have in the school district.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. And I know Dr. Herman has another obligation. So again, on behalf of everybody on the school committee, Dr. Rick and Brockton Public Schools, thank you. Again, really appreciate all of your information and your expertise and your professionalism. Have a good night, Dr. Herman.
Thank you. Thank you all again for inviting me.
Thank you. We will now go back to, and thank you, committee, for taking that out of order. We will now go back to agenda number 2, which is hearing of visitors, and I don't believe we have any. Is that correct, Superintendent or Melinda? Okay. We will now go on to agenda number 3, which is the election of the secretary. And you have to bear with me because much like Tony and Cynthia, this is my first go around as school committee. So I'm going to let Mr. D'Agostino assist on this endeavor.
Mayor, I'm happy to do that. At this time, I will call for our nominations. I believe we have to have nominations for the election of a secretary. Does anyone want to nominate somebody?
I'll nominate Melinda Campbell.
I'd like to nominate Mike Thomas, secretary.
Okay, we have a nomination of Melinda Campbell, and a nomination of Michael Thomas. Do we have a second on either of those nominations?
Second
thought
on
it
Mike
was-
Thomas.
I thought it was supposed to be Melinda. the
No,
secretary.
she
No?
does take the minutes, but the secretary is officially the superintendent at the time.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Melinda. That's why I said Melinda. Sorry.
That's
I've
all right.
only
You
been on
want
the
to,
committee
Judy,
7
do you-
years.
She is a much better secretary than I
you're not helping, Mike.
Okay. Sorry, Mike. I
am.
didn't know.
Second, Melinda.
Judy, did you want to withdraw that nomination then?
Yes, I withdraw Melinda Campbell.
Okay, so we have Superintendent Michael P. Thomas nominated by, I believe, Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Ms. Asak. So if we can do a roll call.
Yeah, I'll read it. Thank you, Mr. D'Agostino. Sullivan, Chair, says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Minicello, Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan. Yes. Hereby passes, and Superintendent Thomas is duly elected the secretary for year 2021. Thank you, everybody. Now we'll go on to agenda number 4, and this is the presentation of the plaque to the outgoing Vice Chair, Mark D'Agostino, and I'm going to let the superintendent take the floor right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first I want to congratulate Mr. D'Agostino for a fine year as the vice chair of the school committee. I can't remember a school committee, all school committee members, but the vice chair having to deal with a pandemic. That obviously has never happened 100 years ago, and we don't know who was in charge back then. So I want to thank you for all the work you put into this. You obviously have a day job as well, running your own business. So I know how much time this takes for all of you, but you and I talk several times a week. We meet with the mayor at least once, sometimes twice a week. And then I know that the work that you do with the committee and the work you do with the subcommittee. So I want to thank you for a great year. You've been great. You're very supportive of the Brockton Public Schools. You always champion the cause for your constituents. when they come to you with an issue, you come directly to us and try to solve it. So again, we thank you for your leadership, and we thank you for the great job you did this year during the most difficult times. And I have this, I'll be able to give this to you in person on Friday, but this is the plaque that goes to our outgoing vice chair. So congratulations, Mr. D'Agostino. I'll try not to get any sauce on this. I'm having spaghetti for supper after this, so I'll try not to get anything on it.
I also just want to echo the sentiments. I want to thank Mark for his professionalism and dedication. It's been a difficult year for all of us, but through his guidance and his dedication, it's been really an enjoyable endeavor. So thank you, Mark, and we truly appreciate everything you've done in the year 2020, and we look forward to working with you in 2021. I know Ms. Azek had a comment as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. So Mr. D'Agostino, 6 years ago, we started a venture as school committee members, and it's been a pleasure. And I just wanted to say thank you. A lot of people don't see the behind the scenes of all the meetings and all the, just constantly keeping us updated. So throw in COVID, and I just wanted to say thank you. You helped us get through a very difficult year with your guidance and with our superintendent's guidance. We're very fortunate. We do have a really good team, and with our mayor. So thank you. Thank you for all the time. There was a lot of extra personal time that you had to put aside to be there for us for our committee. So you did a wonderful job as our vice chair, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Azek. Any other members of the school committee would like to speak at this time? Mr. D'Agostino.
Yeah, I just wanted to first thank the superintendent for his comments and his praise, and say, again, I'm grateful for your leadership. You have certainly made my role much easier by being the leader that you are and being as on top of things as you are. So that certainly goes both ways, and and the same for the mayor. You come in as a brand new mayor, and really the three of us, we come in, brand new vice chair, brand new mayor, brand new superintendent, and we had all these plans, and oh, by the way, here's a 100-year pandemic to mess everything up on you. So the mayor, you've been a great leader for our city through this time. I know you've made some really difficult decisions that you didn't want to make but had to make, and so I appreciate both of you, and the leadership and the relationship that the three of us have built working together, getting through this. And I also want to thank all the members of the committee. Having a good team, I don't care how good the leadership is, if you don't have a good team working with you, then nothing's going to get done. And so you guys are a great team. It's been an honor and a privilege to be your vice chair this year, and I really appreciate it. And you've all put in a lot more time and a lot more hours than probably any other year, at least in the time I've been on the committee. And so a lot of challenges, and you all rose to those challenges. So thank you so very much, and for your work, and for being supportive of me and my role. It really means a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Appreciate it. If there is, I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan, please.
Yes, Mr. D'Agostino, I just wanted to thank you for the great job that you did. I would say in the very beginning, a year ago, I was a little surprised that you wanted the job, and I didn't think you could do it. But you did outstanding. You did a great job. Congratulations, and I hope you do it again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. If there's no other comments, we can move on. And we have agenda item number 5, which is the election of the vice chair for year 2021. I will now open up nominations.
I'd like to nominate Mark D'Agostino as vice chair for 2021.
Is there a second or any additional nominations?
Second.
It's a second made by Mr. I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan, I couldn't hear you. Tim, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, second.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So there's a motion on the floor of the nomination of Mr. Mark D'Agostino to serve as the vice chair for 2021. A motion was made by Joyce Azak. It was seconded by Tony Rodriguez, also Mr. Sullivan. That being said, are there any other nominations?
Actually, Mayor, oh, sorry, I'll wait.
Okay, if there's none, nominations are closed. We have a duly made motion. It was properly seconded. I will take a roll call vote now relative to the nomination matter before us. Sullivan Chair says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Minicello, Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan. Judy, I think you're muted still.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan,
Yeah,
it's hereby passed. Congratulations. Mark D'Agostino will serve as vice chair once again for the year 2021. I do see Ms. Azak has her hand raised. Joyce, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that Mr. Minicello had a work conflict and is not able to attend tonight's meeting. So he asked me to express his, he's in full support of Mr. D'Agostino being vice chair and wanted to thank him for the leadership this past year. So he just wanted to make sure I said a few words on his behalf.
Thank you. Duly noticed. It will be reflected in the minutes. Thank you very much, Joyce. Appreciate that. Mark, did you have a comment?
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to real quickly, again, I thought it would have been a little premature to say this under the last item. Thank you for the confidence that you are all placing in me, electing me to another year as vice chair. We're still in the midst of a difficult time, and so I don't take for granted the confidence that you're all placing in me and with your vote, and letting me continue in this role into the next year and hopefully lead us out of this pandemic. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you for the confidence that you're placing in me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair-elect. Now we're going to go to number 6 on the agenda, which is the election of committee members to Community Schools Advisory Board. And I'm going to place my confidence in Mr. D'Agostino and let him run the show right now. So, Mr. Vice Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd like to, at this time, we need to have an election of committee members to the community schools. Currently, Judy Sullivan and Tony Rodriguez are serving in that role, and I want to thank them for their time that they've given to that role. And also at this time, call for nominations. Again, we'll need 2 nominations to the Community Schools Advisory Board.
I nominate Tony Rodriguez if he can run again.
Yes. Okay, we have a nomination of Tony Rodriguez. Do we have a second of Tony Rodriguez?
Second.
second.
Okay, Tony Rodriguez nominated and properly seconded by Ms. Asak. Mayor, if I don't have a roll call sheet, could you call the roll?
Absolutely. Yep, it was duly seconded. Chair Sullivan says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Minicello is absent. Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
It's hereby confirmed. Tony, thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, we need one more member to serve on the Community Schools Advisory Board. So we'll reopen nominations for a second member to the Community Schools Advisory Board.
I'd like to nominate Judy Sullivan.
Okay, we have a motion for Judy Sullivan, or a nomination for Judy Sullivan. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. Mayor, if you could call the roll?
Chair Sullivan says yes. Vice Chair,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes,
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes,
It's hereby ratified and confirmed. Judy, congratulations.
thank you.
We'll now go on to number 7 on the agenda, which is the approval of the rules and orders of the school committee. Mr. Vice Chair, any thoughts or matters relative to this?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the rules and orders of the school committee as they stand.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
It's a second by Ms. Azak. It was made by Mr. D'Agostino. And now for a vote, Chair Sullivan says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez,
yes,
Mr. Rodriguez,
yes,
Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes,
Mr. Sullivan.
yes,
It's hereby confirmed and ratified. The approval of the rules and orders of the school committee for 2021 have been passed. We will now go on to agenda 8, which is the appointments of subcommittee for 2021. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the appointments of subcommittees for 2021 as submitted to the committee. If you want, I can read them off. Give me one second. Page 12. Get to that page. I apologize. 6. That's not in there. Hang on one second. After this performance, you guys may have to take a recall vote on me. All right. Okay, so obviously the committees of the whole, we don't need to, those are committees of the whole, finance, policy, superintendent contract, and those are chaired by the vice chair, and all of us are members. Accounts review, Cynthia Mendez, Tim Sullivan, Mark D'Agostino as chair. Bid review, Tim Sullivan, chair, Judy Sullivan and Mark D'Agostino as members. Building naming, Thomas J. Minicello, chair, Joyce Asak, Mark D'Agostino, members. Community schools, we just voted on Tony Rodriguez and Judy Sullivan. Curriculum, again, is also one of the committees of the whole and is chaired by the vice chair. Diversity, race, equity, and inclusion, Cynthia Mendez, chair. Thomas J. Minicello Jr. and Tony Rodriguez as members. Facilities usage and planning, Joyce Asak, chair. Mark D'Agostino and Tim Sullivan as members. Finance is a committee of the whole. Grievance for certified and non-certified. Certified, Tim Sullivan, chair. Members Mark D'Agostino, Judy Sullivan. Non-certified, Thomas J. Minicello Jr., chair. Cynthia Mendez and Tony Rodriguez, members. Information Technology Board would be Joyce Asak. BEA Negotiations, Thomas J. Minicello Jr., chair. Judy Sullivan and Timothy Sullivan. Negotiations for other bargaining units. The chairs vary. I'll get to those in a minute. Members will be Tony Rodriguez, Mark D'Agostino, and Joyce Asak. School Police Chair, Joyce Asak. Custodians Chair, Tony Rodriguez. Food Service Chair, Mark D'Agostino. MTA's Chair, Joyce Asak. Paraprofessionals Chair, Mark D'Agostino. IBAA and TEA Chair, Tony Rodriguez. Policy Subcommittee of the Whole, I talked about that. Policy Manual Review, Judy Sullivan, chair. Joyce Asak, member. And Cynthia Mendez, member. Salary Accreditation, Mark D'Agostino as the representative. Let's see, SC representative to Brockton Education Foundation, Thomas J. Minicello. School committee representative to BHS Parent Advisory Council, Cynthia Mendez. School committee representative to Save Our Sports, Tony Rodriguez. Security, Safety, Transportation, Timothy Sullivan, chair. Judy Asak, Joyce Asak, and Tony Rodriguez, members. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the list, the Superintendent Contract Committee is a committee of the whole chaired by the vice chair. And so
Is there a motion relative to what Mr. D'Agostino just read before us for subcommittees for the year 2021, please?
Can I just ask a question first?
Yes, absolutely, Judy.
Okay, I was just wondering on negotiations, other bargaining units. So that means, Mark, that those three are gonna be on all of these subcommittees for, all of these union bargaining units. All three will be on all of those.
yes, that's correct. Mhm.
Okay. Because that's a lot of bargaining units. That's a lot of that's a lot of meetings.
It is, and currently, Mr. Sullivan is serving on those with myself and Mr. Rodriguez. So it's the only change is Mr. Sullivan going to BEA, which I'll talk about after we take the vote. I didn't want to jump the gun on that. And Joyce coming in. So that's the only choice. The only change is swapping those two. Mr. Rodriguez and I are already on all of those.
Okay. Sounds good. As long as everybody knows that those three are on all of them.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Any
Thank you.
additional questions from any members of the committee relative to the matter before us? If not, I'll entertain a motion from someone, please.
Motion to accept the 2021 subcommittee assignments.
Motion was made. Is there a second, please?
Second.
So motion made by Judy, seconded by Tim. We'll do a roll call vote. The Chair Sullivan says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino.
Yes.
Ms. Azak.
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. It's hereby confirmed. And the appointments of the subcommittee are stated as Mark had dictated. Mr. Vice Chair, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to, first of all, thank all the members of the committee for their service on all the subcommittees. As I mentioned earlier, it was a very active year, especially on the committees of the whole. But we're also in negotiations with several bargaining units. So I want to thank the members of those units, those negotiating committees, because we've been hard at work. And I really want to also thank, Mr. Sullivan for his willingness to go over to the BEA negotiating committee. That is, Mrs. Sullivan, you're right. The smaller bargaining units are a lot of meetings, but the BEA negotiating committee, and you're on it, Judy, you can vouch for this. That's a heavy lift. And Mr. Sullivan took a big responsibility for us there, and I really appreciate him doing that. We will have our 3 longest serving members on the bargaining committee for our largest bargaining unit, which I think makes sense. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you all had something like 40 some odd meetings in the last contract. Does that sound about right, Judy?
That one was shorter than the previous. I think there was
Okay.
like 100, right, Superintendent Thomas? On the previous one?
No, that one I wasn't part of. The last one, I think there was
Oh, that's
30.
right, too.
I think there were
Oh.
33 last time.
Right.
'Cause
Okay.
we do interest-based bargaining, so it's, they're long, but they're productive, and it's really a good way to bargain, and it's worked well. And again, we look forward to having Mr. Sullivan join us, and because those will be starting pretty soon.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make mention of that, and also thank Judy and Mr. Minicello. You've been serving on that for quite some time now, both you and Mr. Minicello. And so you've done several of those with our largest unit. And again, it's a big lift for all 3 of you with those, 30 some odd meetings. So Mr. Sullivan, I wanted to just thank you, because you took on a lot there in accepting that, and I appreciate that. So, and also want to thank Judy and Mr. Minicello, because again, once again, they're accepting that big responsibility and a lot of work goes along with that. Finally, my last comment, I think it says a lot about when we have some newer members who are willing and looking to step in and take advantage of leadership opportunities and be leaders on the committee. Mrs. Mendez, you stepped up within, the first year, and Mr. Rodriguez, now you're stepping up and leading, negotiating committees and chairing some of those committees. And so I appreciate the willingness of some of our newer members to dive in and accept leadership responsibilities on the committee. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. D'Agostino. Again, every member on the committee, thank you for your dedication to the school committee. It's a collaboration approach, and we have a really good group of folks dedicated for the cause. So thank you, everybody. We will now go on to number 9 on the agenda, which is the consent agenda, which is broken up A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Is there any member of the committee that needs to take one of those matters out of order, or can we take the, Mr. Vice Chairman, please?
I'll try and make it quick. Item C and D.
Okay, there's a motion to take C and D out. Is there a second on that? Oh, Judy, did you have one?
I have E. Take
Oh.
out E.
Okay. And Joyce, did you have something?
I'd like to take out item letter B.
B. Okay, so we have A, F, and G. A, F, and G. A
I'd like
is,
to make a motion to accept A, F, and G as written.
there's a motion made. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Motion was made by Tim, seconded by Judy. Chair Sullivan says yes. Vice Chair,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Ms. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes.
So A, F, and G have been ratified. A is the approval of the minutes, December 15th, 2020 regular school committee meeting. F is the acceptance of notification, personnel appointments non-certified. G is acceptance of notification, personnel actions, leaves of absence, resignation, retirements. The matter now relative to, we'll just go down in order. We'll take B out, and I believe Joyce wanted that out.
Thank you. I just wanted to give a quick report of the Facilities Usage and Planning Subcommittee, which met on December 2nd of 2020. We had 3 items of discussion. One of them was the Eldon B. Keith Field, the Huntington School roof replacement, and the Goddard renovation update. So I know we have a few items, so I'll try to make it very brief. So our attorney Peter Mello discussed with the subcommittee the matter of making available for disposition a portion of the Keith Field and the possibility of an RFP and what that would entail. So he's been going back and forth, in discussion with our city attorneys for the city of Brockton. So we're constantly getting updates. So I will give you guys an update once we have something more recent. As far as the Huntington School roof replacement, Dr. Cobbs had discussed the handout he had given our subcommittee members regarding the submission of an SOI to the MSBA. It's just pretty much preliminary construction timeline for the financial commitment of the MSBA and the cost to the city of Brockton. We're currently in the design phase, and when the engineering and drawings are completed, we will be ready to go out to bid. Dr. Cobbs also explained that the project had been submitted to the MSBA for extensions a couple of times due to waiting to get on the city council docket. The mayoral approval process and approval by the Brockton Historical Society, which we do not currently have, so it defaults to the Massachusetts Historical Society. So after a back and forth period of communications, the Mass Historical Society did sign off on the project. And the last item I have is the Goddard renovations. We were informed that currently right now, we have the community center over at the North Junior High, but we're giving them, I believe, a permanent location at the old Goddard building that we have. So they are renovating it, a lot of just cosmetic work, but they will have, I believe, Superintendent, if I'm not wrong, it's the first floor will be designated for the community center.
Yeah, the community center and our new Promise High School.
Nice. So, and that's for the Goddard renovations, and all that's pretty much in-house cosmetic work, nothing major, but we're getting that ready to give them a permanent location from here on. And that concludes our facilities usage report.
Just also to give some additional information relative to what Joyce just said, it's going to be a community center, a city community center. Again, we are going to be gearing towards the folks that are being relocated from the Old North Junior High, North Middle School. But we will, and Mike and I have been working diligently on this. And we are going to have that as a city community center. We've already had great collaboration with DPW that have cleaned the exterior, and a lot of the school personnel that have started to renovate the interior. So I want to thank Joyce, your leadership on that, and of course the support of the superintendent. Any questions for Ms. Azak relative to her report? If not, we will entertain a motion, please.
Motion to approve the minutes of the Facilities Usage Subcommittee from December 2nd, 2020.
Motion made.
Second.
There's a second by Mr. Sullivan, properly seconded. Chair says yes. Vice Chair,
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Hereby passes, and B has been approved. We will now go to C and D, and that's Mr. D'Agostino, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, we will start with the December 1st Superintendent Contract Subcommittee meeting. That occurred at 5 p.m. via Zoom. We had just 2 items on the agenda: discussion of evaluation criteria and other business. For the discussion of evaluation criteria, Dr. Connors and Mrs. Kopp both joined us and provided members of the committee additional guidance and insight about the evaluation process. Mrs. Kopp had spoken to several members as well regarding questions they had about the evaluation of the superintendent and tried to provide additional support. She also wanted to bring to the attention of the committee members to remind us that we're evaluating the superintendent on his goals, the achievements of his goals and standards and overall rating, and to think holistically about what has happened this year. Finally, she suggested the conversation to have is where does the superintendent fall in terms of proficiency, meeting the standards, and think about how you approach the ratings, particularly with this year, as it has not been a normal year. There was questions and answers by the members of the committee. And then there other business. There was no other business, and the meeting was adjourned. Finally, then we have the report of the December 1st, 2020 Policy Subcommittee. This was a long meeting. I'll summarize it as quickly as I can. The agenda items of this evening were review current COVID-19 metrics, reopening for students with special needs, revisit reopening plan, winter sports guidance, and then again, other business. Agenda item number 1, Mayor Sullivan gave us an update on the current COVID-19 metrics. There was a discussion of that. Second item, reopening for students with special needs. We had Mrs. Wolder with us, as well as Attorney Tobin and Ms. Mason with us as well, and had a discussion. Attorney Tobin advised, in her work with other districts and the conversations that she's involved with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, kind of advised us what those discussions were like. Also advised that DESE has continued to highlight that even if schools are operating as a fully remote model, they must make every effort to make sure we're providing full in-person services to students who are considered high needs. They are doing audits of districts that are fully in remote status. The state is looking for a clear path to return, at least for the highest need students. Again, Attorney Tobin urged the committee to not have a plan to set an artificial date, but to set a date sooner and work with smaller groups of the highest need, very highest need students. And then Ms. Mason presented a developed hybrid model plan for our students with disabilities to re-enter schools. Ms. Mason informed us that she had met with principals to discuss van and parent pickup and drop off, lunches in cafeterias, and some of those other logistics that would be involved in that. There was a discussion that ensued about how many students and at what schools those students would be at. And there was, it's not in here, but roughly about 87 students spread throughout several schools. There was a discussion and comment and question and answer from the members of the committee. Agenda item number 3, revisit reopening plans. Again, there was some question and some comment from the members of the committee. And there was a consensus that obviously we needed to come up with a plan to return students to the classroom as soon as it is safe to do so. Finally, agenda item number 4, winter sports guidance. We were joined by Kevin Cairo, athletic director, to discuss winter sports guidance and opportunities. He gave a recap of fall sports and that they had had no cases of COVID-19. And many of the teams had finished just 10 days prior to this meeting, and everything had gone great. He discussed with us that there are many changes for winter sports, and winter sports included opportunities like wrestling, indoor track, swimming, hockey, gymnastics. So he kind of walked us through what some of those sports would look like if we were to be able to have them. They would have, again, changes made to how the sports are played. In the fall, the coaches were rigorous about making sure that masks were being worn, and they would do the same in our winter sports programs. The committee was advised we needed to vote by December 14th in order to to give Mr. Cairo time to start registration. There was questions and answers by the members of the committee. And under other business, there was none, and the meeting was adjourned. And that is all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Any questions for anything that the Vice Chair just shared with us? If not, I'm going to entertain a motion relative to C and D. Is there a motion on the floor, please?
Motion.
Motion was made. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Rodriguez. It was properly seconded by Mrs. Sullivan. Matter now comes to vote. Chair says yes. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez?
yes,
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Hereby passes, which again, C is the acceptance of December 1, 2020 Superintendent's Contract Subcommittee Meeting Report, and D is the acceptance of December 1, 2020 Policy Subcommittee Meeting Report. The last matter under the consent agenda is E, and Judy had asked that we take that out. Judy, the floor is yours.
Okay, letter E is an agenda item for the Principal Brian Rogan 2021 Memorial Scholarship. And the Kelly Family Foundation I'm just going to read a little bit of this because this will explain it, is the board that's asking for putting the scholarship forward. The board has voted to make a 2020 contribution of $7,000 to the Brockton Education Foundation Incorporated in memory of Principal Brian Rogan. It is our wish that funds be awarded to a college-bound senior whose intended course of study is in elementary education or special education. A recipient should be a student who, through his or her high school career, has demonstrated high academic investment, consistent respect for peers, and a concern for community. We are comfortable with the high school guidance counselors and teachers selecting the recipient or recipients according to the above criteria. The KFF board allows that educators involved might decide that dividing the funds among more than one graduate is preferable and more than one scholarship may be awarded. It is our hope that we can continue to donate funds to the Brockton Education Foundation each year, and a scholarship or scholarships in honor of Principal Brian Rogan can be awarded annually. I am enclosing a check of $7,000. I am confident that the BEF can expect the same contribution from KFF next year. And it's signed by Michelle Bayer, board member for Kelly Family Foundation.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. Any questions relative to what Judy just expressed for the late Principal Brian Rogan? Mr. D'Agostino, please.
I'd just like to make a quick comment. This is excellent that we're going to, have a scholarship to remember Mr. Rogan by. He was a wonderful man and a wonderful teacher that served our city for, over 30 years. And it's amazing to me how many kids' lives he touched and impacted in a positive way. I know I'm one of them, as I've said before. And the impact was so much so great that, when I ran for office and found out he was the principal of Kennedy, I was thrilled that I was going to get to work with Mr. Rogan again. And, and that's from memories of having him as a fourth grade teacher. So that stayed with me all those years. And I know that I'm one of thousands of former students of his that feel that way. So I just wanted to put that comment in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. D'Agostino. Superintendent Thomas, please.
Yeah, it's a great tribute to Principal Rogan, who we all still miss very, very much and always will. And we look forward to hopefully in the spring being able to recognize formally the dedication of the garden that the staff is working together on putting together over at the Kennedy, and to have a gathering when we're able to do so, and to honor Mr. Rogan's memory and his legacy that he left behind at the Kennedy School and for the Brockton Public Schools.
Thank you very much, Mr. Superintendent. Any other comments at this time? If not, I'm going to entertain a motion relative to agenda item E. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan on the motion then.
Just one comment. I just wanted to say he'd be missed deeply, but never forgotten. He was a great guy, and I'll miss him myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Matter now comes before us. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the scholarship of Principal Brian Rogan, 2021 Memorial Scholarship.
Second.
So motion made by Judy
Second.
Sullivan. It was seconded by Mark D'Agostino. Matter now comes before us. Chair Sullivan says yes. Vice Chair.
Yes.
Ms. Azak.
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Hereby confirmed. Again, E, it passes. We now go to agenda item 10, which is the report of the superintendent of schools, Mike Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to start with the donation from the Pilgrim Foundation. I'll have Aldo jump in because he worked directly with Ray Ledoux, former CEO of BAT, and now the president of the Pilgrim Foundation. They made the generous donation of $36,611.16 for the education and well-being of our visually impaired students. So this money is going directly to students that are visually impaired, and we thank them and the board at the Pilgrim Foundation for this very generous donation. And I'll have Aldo talk a little bit more about it. He worked directly with Ray Ledoux on this.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Ledoux reached out to the superintendent, and I returned the call that the Pilgrim Foundation saw the struggles we were having trying to get a one-to-one device for every student in Brockton. They saw how we were able to purchase laptops with CARES funds and make sure that every student had a laptop. So when they reached out, they said they want to do something for a population of students that need some additional help. So I talked to Laurie Mason, special ed department, and one of the groups she identified was the visually impaired, and said there's a lot of electronic equipment that we could get for them that would really help. It's specialized, but special monitors, large screen print on them, special keyboards with large screen print on those, a subscription to 80,000 books that are read to you from a human, so that they can actually listen to books that they obviously can't read themselves. Not everything is in Braille. They ordered a Braille embosser, handheld video magnifiers. They had read-write stands, I guess, to hold this equipment. and even wireless headphones. So again, the kids could use them for the different devices, the computers. They already have tablets, but they were looking for a way to reach out and help these kids. And when I filled in, Ray, he brought it back to the foundation, and the foundation thought it was absolutely perfect. So we actually sent them all the quotes we received from the 4 or 5 different companies, and they honestly, within a couple of weeks, turned around and sent us a check. And so they were very happy to do it. And in the future, if they see that they've got the ability to give us more money, they will. So very nice of them.
Thanks, Aldo. And I had spoken to Mr. Ledoux about this, and this is unbelievable, very generous. Any questions from any members of the committee for Mr. Petronio or for Mr. Thomas, Superintendent? Seeing none, we'll move on. We already took Dr. Herman B, so now we'll go to C, which is SOA 3-year district plan.
Mr. Mayor, I want to back up to Dr. Herman's report, so we can discuss the target dates that were that we had in place, which were the 19th of January for students with disabilities, and then February 1st for other students to start to come back to school in a hybrid model. So I'd like to revisit that with the committee and recommend a 2-week delay in that, just so we can see where these numbers go for the holidays. I am concerned of the number of staff members who have COVID over the last since November 27th. And I know we have to return in person. I know it's something that's very important for our community, very important for our students with disabilities, but seeing what's going on with the numbers, and I just think a 2-week delay would best serve us at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Just so we're all clear, so the 2-week delay would push it back to February 1, Mr. Superintendent?
For our students with disabilities first, correct.
Okay. Any comments or suggestions or thoughts? Mr. D'Agostino, please.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, and so then if we delayed our students with disabilities to Feb 1, we would be going to the 8th, I believe, for, maybe I should look at the calendar before I threw that out there.
No, you're right on the.
All right, it is the 8th. We'd be going to the 8th for what was it, pre-K and K? No,
we would
2.
We would look to, and again, we'll work on this with the reopening committee. We'll also work on this with the BEA, but we're looking at a phase-in, something that would start with. I've been talking and we've been discussing about the 8th, letting kindergarten students and our 6th graders and our 9th graders come in that week to basically, because they're all going into brand new buildings. Buildings they haven't been in before, and teachers that obviously they know now because they've been working with them online, but that would allow those new students to get into those schools and just get used to those schools for a week, and then look to bring other grades back. And I know we have to take into consideration parents that have multiple children that that are home and they have daycare, so we have to take that into consideration when we phase students back in. We also have to take into account the February vacation that will fall 2 weeks after that. I mean, 2 weeks after the, I think that's the 15th it starts. I'm like you, Misty. I don't have a. Let me look up my calendar. So, yeah, February vacation is the week of the 15th, I believe. Unless, Melinda, am I wrong on that?
You are correct.
15th, yeah. So again, we'd have to look at that week of the 8th being, a smaller group of students coming in, but then obviously we have the vacation, and then after February vacation, we would look to phase other students back in. So again, it doesn't put parents at a disadvantage of having to figure out daycare if they have students and children in different grades, and that's parents have reached out and expressed that concern to me, and I hear that. So our phase-in plan would have to be, again, methodical and well planned out, but which it will be, but just taken into consideration what parents have to deal with daycare, as they've been dealing with it since March the 12th.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And I think it makes sense having, you know, those grades that are in that transition year go back, have a week, then have the vacation week, you know, because that's going to be a big adjustment. Not only are they transition into that kind of a transition year, but they haven't really been around a lot of other kids. They haven't been in the school environment since last year or ever in the case of kindergartners. You know, it's good. That's going to be a big adjustment. So I think that makes sense that we're going to take advantage of that vacation week too, to kind of, okay, come back, see what it's like. You have, then have the week off before you go back and there's other kids there and you really start to get things going. And yeah, I'm glad you're being mindful of, I appreciate that, of the fact that, you know, some parents, I've gotten those calls too of, you know, I've got a kid in 2 different grades and figuring all of that out. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the 2-week delay makes sense just because of the holiday spikes and all of that we've seen.
But I get, you know, we go back to, I mean, we have to understand that, you know, we are going to have students in person, you know, sooner than later. Most districts have since the beginning of the year. And, but again, we've been making decisions based on the health and safety of our families and our staff, which we always do. But we also have to understand that students will be coming back, and we have to plan for it, be ready for it, make sure that when they do come back, it can't take a month to phase students in, because again, this is about you know, parents having to deal with daycare, so the phase in, you know, it has to be well thought out, but it can't take a month to get all students back into school. So, you know, that's being planned. And it's just something that, you know, we all, you know, and there's a lot of stress and anxiety about it, from staff, from families, from everybody, and obviously rightfully so. But we need to prepare ourselves for students returning. And again, that will be sooner than later. But I think the 2-week delay is in the best interest of safety and health. And that also, I would say that we would keep staff on the same schedule that they've been following the last 3 weeks, with the uptick in staff cases, that they would follow the same schedule they've been following for the last 2 weeks as far as remote work, with the option to come in until we see where this holiday surge goes. And then we could revisit, we could say that on the Tuesday, the 19th, I believe, Melinda, is that a regular school committee? Is that would be subcommittees?
Which date was that again?
With the 19th a regular school committee, or is that would be subcommittee nights?
That would be subcommittee night.
All right, so obviously we could have Dr. Herman return for a subcommittee meeting on policy and revisit this on January 19th. But, you know, again, my recommendation would be to delay it 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Any members? I see Joyce, Ms. Azek, you have your hand up, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to just make a comment. So thank you, Superintendent. We've waited this long, and I don't think rushing back is going to help us, especially where our numbers are higher than we expected them to be. I think a 2-week delay. I know a lot of parents are anxious. A lot of special needs parents have reached out to me. It's just safety is our top priority. And we just need to keep our students safe, our families safe, and our staff safe. So I completely support the superintendent requesting a 2-week delay. That 2-week delay might be able to help us get back by delaying things just a little bit. So, you know, thank you. Thank you for recommending that. You know, just 2 weeks is all we really need right now. And we got to keep stressing. I mean, I'm seeing so many families. Our numbers are high. If we can just listen to, you know, what they're requesting from us to do, stay safe, wear your mask, follow what we need to do, keep small groups, and hopefully our numbers will get down. Mayor, I'm not sure if I misheard this, but I thought I heard yesterday on one of the news reports, I think Brockton had the highest deaths in the zip code of 02301. I'm not sure.
That's correct, but I think Channel 25 did not define it as such, because if we think about it, a vast majority of the nursing homes that lost lives is situated in the 02301 district. 02302 has Thatcher Street, but it
I
is
thought-
accurate in terms of the numbers of loss. 02301 would be the highest in the Commonwealth.
It is, because I do get a lot of calls from families like, why can, other families have their children go back to school in different cities and towns? They're just not understanding. Brockton's numbers are very high, and we need to get, they need to understand that we have to get full control of that in order to get our kids back to school safely. So, that's the only thing. So I don't know how much more we can stress. You got to do COVID safety. Keep everyone safe around you. So, and that is concerning that our numbers were high with some of the staff. And our kids aren't even back to school. So I don't want to make it a long night, but I just want to make a couple of comments that I do appreciate Superintendent Thomas recommending a 2-week delay rather than rushing into it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Azak. Any other members of the committee? I do also, I want to recognize and thank Kim Gibson, President of the BEA, who's always on, and the BEA and the staff have been really unbelievable partners as we try to continue to navigate COVID. So I do support 100% what Superintendent has just indicated. I think a 2-week pause would give us ample time to still vet out the numbers. Dr. Herman, he digs in every morning. So I'll have a gauge that at 10:45 every morning, I have a gauge from Rick, and I'll be able to share it like I do with Mike, and we can give it to the committee. But I do support the 2 weeks. I think we should, just take a little bit of a pause. We all have a shared vision to get kids back in the classroom, make sure it's safe for the boys and girls, but also make sure it's safe for the teachers and the staff. So is there a motion relative to modifying our original vote and push it off for 2 weeks with the drop dead date of February 1?
Motion to delay the reopening 2 weeks for special needs students till February 1 and K and pre-K to February 8th.
Second.
Thank you. A motion was on the floor by Mr. D'Agostino, properly seconded by Mr. Rodriguez. We will take a roll call vote. The chair, Sullivan, says yes. The vice chair, D'Agostino.
Yes.
Ms. Azak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Hereby passes, and it reflects in the minutes. Thank you very much. We'll continue on the report of the superintendent. Again, now we'll go to C, which is the SOA 3-year district plan. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So back when last January, when it looked like the school department was going to get $21 million under the new Student Opportunity Act, we had to put a Student Opportunity Act plan in place for the Department of Education. So that started with several meetings with staff, teachers, community, parents, community organizations, and several of those meetings took place between the middle of January and pretty much up until the pandemic hit. So this Student Opportunity Act plan was based off of those meetings, based off of reviewing data. This is pre-COVID. There has been nothing in here for post-COVID because it's been clear by Commissioner Riley that we're going to have plenty of opportunities to tweak this plan. And as they said as Cuba Gooding Jr. said, show us the money, and they haven't done that yet. So so once we see what we're going to get out of the Student Opportunity Act, we'll be able to revisit this plan. I'll have community meetings again. We'll also have to, obviously meet with staff to get their input. So this plan could be drastically tweaked once we know the money we're getting, and will be, because again, this is pre-COVID. There's nothing in here that pretty much takes COVID into account because we're waiting to see what the, what we're going to end up getting for money coming into fiscal year 22. So I want to just welcome Mr. Bath, who, as a former member of the school committee, continued to work with us on helping us put this plan together, helping us put all the notes together from the various meetings we had with staff and also with communities, the community organizations, and with parents. So I'm going to let Mr. Bath introduce and talk about the process that we went through January through March, and then how this was put together. And obviously this has to be submitted. This was delayed. It was supposed to be submitted back on April 15th. Obviously that changed. They changed the submittal date several times. And finally now it has to be submitted by January 15th. But again, like I said before, this can drastically change as we rewrite this as we get into the spring. So thank you, Mr. Bath, for all your hard work and helping us out with this.
My pleasure. I never ventured far away. I'm still concerned about helping out the Brockton Public Schools. But before I talk about the process, I just have to recognize a couple of people. June Saba McGuire and her team really put together some incredible information here. So she and her team needs to be recognized. Ethan Cancel did yeoman's work on this, and when it comes to analysis of numbers and whatever else we're looking into, it doesn't get any better than Ethan. So, and of course, Aldo Petronio with his financial wizardry was incredible. The leadership of Superintendent Thomas was just off the charts. And the person I really want to give a shout out to is Jess Hodges, who really put together all of the information into the report that you guys are going to be reading, and it's going to be sent up to DESE. So let me just revisit a minute. I'm not going to be long, but let me revisit this a minute. Back in November 26th of 2019, the state legislature passed the Student Opportunity Act, which clearly stated that they're going to put together or make available $1.5 billion to be distributed to school districts through the year 2027. And Brockton was earmarked to get $21 million. So, and because we're a large school district, we had to use the form that DESE put together, and it had to be the long form. Not the shorter form. So as you can see by the book that you got to look over, that's what we put together over these past months. And it was a labor of love. We all pitched in. It was a great team effort, and it really looks great as far as we're concerned. I'm not going to explain what's in the booklet because that's going to be June, and Ethan and Jess are going to talk about that. So the process was we met, and then we did listening tours, and then one of the things that I think we're most proud of is that everybody who had input through the listening tours, all of their input made it into this report. It's in there, so we didn't leave anything out. So it was really across the community effort. And you can, as you go through and you take a look at the table of contents, you will see it. So, and then we met and we pulled it all together and we identified all the stuff that we needed to identify. And when the district review came out, we took the district review and we took some of the recommendations in the district review and we kind of filtered that into the Student Opportunity Act. So because if we're in a partnership with DESE going forward, we need to let them know that we are cognizant of what their results were when they came to visit. And we also put the components of the MOU in there, the Memorandum of Understanding, so that they will also see that because they're going to be partnering with them. But the interesting thing that I found when I read through this entire document and read through all of the appendices is that what the DESE found in the district review and what they put in the MOU, if you take a look at the appendices, you will see all of the stuff that our faculty and the community put in to their listening tour is in reflected as to what what DESE and the MOU had to say. So I think we're ahead of the game a little bit here, but I'm very proud of this document. I'm very honored to have worked with this group of people because they really get education. They really get what they're doing. So finally, the table of contents and what people will talk to you about tonight. There's the summary, the historical need. You always have to figure out what the history is so we can understand. And in order to go forward, we need to know where we came from. Then there's the plan itself. There are 4 commitments in which June, Ethan, and Jess will talk about the conclusion. And then finally, toward the end of the packet is all of the appendices, which we had to put in because DESE wanted all of our findings to be certified. And these documents will certify basically everything that we've done. So for me, I'm done. It was a labor of love. And I just have to say this, that Lewis and Clark found the mouth of the Mississippi sooner than we did putting this report together. So, but it was, like I said, it was a labor of love. And I want to thank Mike Thomas, the superintendent, for allowing me to help out. Thank you.
And I also want to add that some of the delay was purposeful because, again, when we didn't get the money, we were not in a rush to submit the plan. So, and when this DESE continued to delay the submittal of the plan, we continued to delay getting this in. So just to be clear, but thank you very much for the hard work.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. It's my honor tonight to introduce what we're going to go over tonight. Basically, our plan featured 4 commitments. And as Mr. Bath has pointed out, this is a requirement of the state. So the 4 commitments, the first one will be a focus on student subgroups and sort of naturally flowing from this focus on student subgroups and their performance, the evidence-based programs that will close the gaps of these subgroups. The third commitment will be the monitoring the success of closing the gaps. And the fourth will be engaging all families. So our Chief Academic Officer, June Sabin-McGuire, will cover the first 2. I will do the third one, the monitoring, and Jess will bring it home with the engaging all families. So I will pass the baton to our Chief Academic Officer, June Sabin-McGuire.
Thank you, Ethan, and good evening, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Bath, for the vote of confidence. And I do want to thank the team that worked with us on developing much of this plan. And there are so many people that we really couldn't mention them all. But regardless, in thinking about how this plan came together, as the superintendent and Dr. Cancel and Mr. Bath mentioned, there are many constituent groups in the district that have been involved in this. And we've also considered the research that could determine how to best approach what the identification of the major commitments are that we need to focus on. And so commitment 1 focuses on our student subgroups. And we know that this is particularly important because our data tells us that this is a significant population of our Brockton Public School students. And so those students include our English language learners, our students who receive special education services, and our students who are not meeting grade level expectations. And so from that, Ethan, you've got the PowerPoint going. So we have committed, or we've recommended through the SOA, that we increase inclusive practices. And for example, co-teaching for English language learners, special education students, and students not meeting grade level expectations. And in order to do this, we are going to obviously need to increase personnel and the services in order to support the full needs of these subgroups. And we believe that this focus will ensure that our students are supported in a holistic manner that is consistent with academic intervention, and wraparound services. And something that I think is worth noting is in a conversation that I had earlier today with our Title I director, Karen McCarthy, we were talking about how to support these subgroups, and that in the past, specifically in supporting our earliest learners, we had a number of Title I teachers. As a matter of fact, we had 50 plus Title I teachers in our school district whose major focus was to support literacy instruction. And since 2000, I think that the last, at the last count, we have currently in the district, we have 17 Title I teachers. So we've gone from 60 plus to 17. And so identifying increased personnel to support student need, we think is particularly important. We also think it's important that we intensify our responsiveness to support our educators in the execution of high quality aligned curriculum, because new curriculum is a big lift for our educators. And in order for them to effectively implement that curriculum, we need to support them through high quality professional development. We also want to continue to identify and address inequities in discipline through continued implementation of positive behavior approaches across the district. As we all know, if students aren't in the classroom, they can't be learning. And finally, as far as the recommendations for commitment 1, we talked a lot about increasing our investment in school facilities so that students across the district have equitable access to safe, healthy, and welcoming learning environments. And so what another, I think, an important point to note is that we want to increase the amount of time that all students spend in our general education classes. And that means that their learning is less interrupted and they're not being pulled into groups for specialized instruction. That doesn't mean that they don't receive specialized instruction. In fact, they do receive that specialized instruction. What it does mean is that we differentiate what that instruction looks like within the general education classroom. And so I think we're on to the next slide. Commitment 2, where we're talking about our successful planning model focusing on evidence-based development. And what does that mean? That means that we're selecting evidence-based programs and the resources that support that program or those programs. And so evidence-based program number 1, and again, this is connected to the Student Opportunity Act planning, is that we're investing in research-based early literacy programs in pre-K and early elementary grades, along with expanded access to full-day high-quality pre-K for 4-year-olds. And I know most of you on the school committee remember the vote that we took to roll back that kindergarten start date. And when we did that with the intent of also expanding access to pre-K seats for those 4-year-olds. As a matter of fact, that was a critical part of how we went about making that decision. And part of the SOA, had we been able to implement it this year, is that we would have added 4 additional pre-K classes, full-day pre-K classes, and that would have been 80 additional seats for our preschool, and particularly our 4-year-olds. And then evidence-based program number 2 is that we believe that to prevent learning gaps, we need to strengthen our literacy instruction, and that starts with our youngest students in pre-K to 2. And so in order for us to be able to do that, some of the recommendations that we're making through the submission of the Student Opportunity Act is that we really focus on deepening the use of our standards-aligned high-quality curriculum. Again, for those of you who've been on the school committee for a little while, you remember that at the elementary level, we've spent a great deal of time, effort, and financial commitment in securing a high-quality research-based curriculum. We have Reach for Reading in K to 5. We've also implemented Foundations, and Foundations is a phonics program, K to 2. And what we really recognized, and certainly the research absolutely demonstrates and supports this, is that the science of reading has shown us that phonics is critical to the development of foundational reading skills. And so in probably prior to 4 or 5 years ago, we had gotten away from teaching explicit phonics. And that's something that we have really committed to. So by expanding early childhood opportunities, we believe, and having the students in school earlier, we'll be able to really focus on developing those skills. So to do this, though, we have to provide ongoing professional development for our teachers and for our support staff, because particularly important for us at the pre-K, K, and certainly even the first grade level is that we have support for our teachers and our students, and that support staff who work directly with our students also have to have the skill development to be able to deliver that high quality instruction, because regardless of the resource, the quality of instruction is obviously the primary factor for improving student outcomes. And so we also look forward to, we have launched a co-teaching model. We do have co-teaching models across the district, but we want to expand this. And again, this relates directly to the district review and the MOU. And so this had already existed in our SOA. So this is a commitment we're really prepared to move forward with, and that is committing to a co-teaching model. And again, over time, because you have to have the support staff and the planning time to be able to do this well, but we want to be able to expand inclusion and co-teaching for students with disabilities and with English language learners. And that's something that we'll be working very closely with the Director of Special Education, Laurie Mason, and the Director of Bilingual Education, Kelly Jones, on. And we've certainly gone well past having initial discussions on that. And so we also, again, want to identify and use valid, reliable early reading assessments. And because to be able to do that, we're going to be able to more closely monitor students' progress, identify those at-risk students early on so that we can quickly provide targeted interventions, because I mean, research does tell us that the earlier that we close those gaps, obviously the more likely that our students will be successful. We don't want students getting to 3rd grade with huge gaps in their ability to read. So that's something that we have a firm commitment to, and supporting educators. And you see this coming up again and again, but to support educators to implement high quality aligned curriculum, we need to do this through ongoing support. And one way that we found that is particularly effective, and again, research-based practice and strategy, is through instructional coaching and ongoing professional learning opportunities. So it's not a matter of a teacher going to a workshop and learning how to use a curriculum, but that they're using that curriculum, implementing that curriculum, and being supported with the implementation of that through feedback and coaching on an ongoing basis. And I know I've said this already, but I think it definitely bears repeating, is that in order to do this, we do need to increase personnel in order to provide the services that are going to support student needs. And so in order to be able to do this effectively and monitor it, right? No, this is for you, Ethan. I was leading right into your slide. So yeah, we have to be able to monitor how well we're doing. And so to monitor our success and outcomes, Ethan is now going to talk about the metrics that we're going to use.
Thank you very much, June. As our Chief Academic Officer pointed out, it's really important that we take a look and see, yes, we're focused on these subgroups. Yes, we have these programs in place that are going to reduce the gap. How effective are they? And you can see when we started making this plan, we just used the state's measures that they already require us to use. So to find the student growth, we'd use the student growth percentile, but we'd use MCAS. And the same thing with student achievement. Well, we may have to change that a little bit, and you'll see that, as you noticed this year, I didn't get to do my MCAS presentation, but we did do a STAR presentation. and we did look at grades, and we're looking specifically at subgroups. So you can see a lot of those changes from when we originally wrote this. But the state does look at our graduation rate, and that's still a very important rate, the 4-year cohort grad rate, and then the 5-year or the extended, sort of the students who persist, but they just take more than 4 years. We look at the English language proficiency as measured by WIDA Access. WIDA Access, the testing window has been expanded. We will keep you informed if that changes going forward, but traditionally we start testing in mid-January, but now that's been pushed off. Chronic absenteeism, this is a big one. This is when you're missing 10% or more of the days, and it's very important. It's important if you're in person, it's important if you're remote. Advanced coursework, this is one of the newer ones that we think is a really, really important one, because the advanced coursework really tells you the percentage of your students are going to be able to go to competitive 4-year colleges and take, they're really prepared for their next phase. We added 2 that are special to Brockton. The seal of biliteracy, this is a newer measure, and this we thought traditionally the state system tends to penalize districts that have English learners. So we said, why not take one of what we perceive as our strengths and measure that? How many of our students achieve this is a state measure, the seal of biliteracy, meaning they can speak fluently in 2 languages. And then we also thought it's really important that despite all of the cuts we've experienced, that we continue to have the first-rate arts programs that we have. So Sue Zakowitz and the folks at Brockton High had the mantra, what gets monitored gets done. And so what gets measured gets monitored, what gets monitored gets done. We're looking at students in the arts, the percentage of students who participate. We think this is a really important measure. There's a lot of research that talks about how important this is for student success, for student engagement, for so many positive things. And so that was one of the additional measures. With that, my section is done, and I'd like to hand it off to Jess Hodges.
So the 4th commitment is engaging all families. We often talk in the district about representing the collective voice of our community, and this project was no exception. We, as the superintendent and Mr. Bath noted, we spent several days out on the road doing listening tours with everyone from teachers to community members to high school students, and their thoughts and feelings are reflected in this report. If you visit the appendices, you will see that we actually have their unedited thoughts included in several different spots there. And beyond that, going forward, one of our commitments is to continue to engage all families, and we'll do that through not only in our buildings through our community mentorship program, but also through school community partnerships, which we explain in extensive detail in the report. And that's it for me.
So that wraps it up, and we're happy, and the superintendent's happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Yeah, so I just want to just some final thoughts, and a lot that's going to go into a tweaked SOA plan will be meetings that we have in the spring and start to figure out what we're going to do in the post-COVID world, and that's going to take into account in many meetings with Brockton Public School staff to see so we can support the needs of our students. So they'll be meeting with families in the spring to get input. So what their needs are, what their students' needs are, and what our staff needs are as we move into post-COVID. That's going to be important that all that is taken into consideration when we write the tweaked Student Opportunity Act plan. And again, this is all about moving forward, a lot of this will change because we will be going through the strategic planning process with the Department of Education and planning for success. And obviously we'll do that together with not only our staff and families, but also with the school committee as well. So we look forward to, again, how this plan will evolve as we move into the spring and into next summer. So again, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank all the teachers for their input and all the meetings that we had, the community for their input, and the work of our administrators, the work of, Kim Gibson worked on us with that, and then obviously all the executive team members for their time and effort they put into this. So it's much appreciated. And again, a lot of work went into this, and we'll submit it by the 15th. And we just need a vote before the 15th. It does not have to be in regular school committee. It can just a vote of the committee to approve the superintendent submitting the plan.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you, everybody, for that detailed, informative information. Truly appreciate it. Any questions from the school committee members relative to the matter that was before us? Judy Sullivan, please.
Okay, I just wanted to thank everybody for the report, Dr. Cancel and June Saber and Jess. I just had a question on the Title I. Was that because of funding that it was reduced from 60 to 16, June?
That was completely related to funding, yes. Since
Okay.
2000, our Title I funds have decreased considerably.
Okay, from 60 teachers to 16?
60 Title I teachers, yes, 60 teachers who were in our elementary schools primarily to provide literacy instruction.
Okay. Thank you. And also, you requested us to increase personnel to provide for student needs. So are you talking like teachers or administrators?
We're
One
talking
person?
both teachers, administrators, and other support staff, right? And that's part of what will be submitted in the budget of the Student Opportunity Act.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sullivan. Any additional questions from members of the school committee? None. Thank you, Ethan, June, and Jess. Truly appreciate that. We'll move on. Next matter is subsection D of 10, which is items to refer to subcommittee. Mr. Vice Chairman, please.
Yeah, I'd like to, if we could, although maybe this probably, no, come to think of it, maybe this should have gone under new business. I apologize. Get a superintendent contract subcommittee scheduled for next week if we could. We could do that on Tuesday. We could. I think, what do we have Tuesday already? We have something already next Tuesday. Oh, no, we don't. Okay. Yeah. So could we do a superintendent contract subcommittee at 6?
It's fine with me. Any objections? We'll set that up. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any additional matters to refer to subcommittee?
I don't know if the committee wants another week to look at the Student Opportunity Act. We could do a curriculum subcommittee meeting shortly after the superintendent, right after the superintendent subcommittee. Then we can submit, the committee as a whole, and the policy can vote at that time to allow us to submit this to the Department of Education. The due date for submittal is January 15th.
Would you like to set that up for 6:30 or 6:45 or 7?
What did I say? 6 for superintendent contract? Yeah, if we do that, I think it would be 7. I want to make sure we don't have to cut the contract subcommittee short because it's going to be presenting the review.
Yep, that's fine. So we'll duly note that 7 o'clock. Any additional subcommittee matters? None. We'll move on then. We're going to go to number 11 on the agenda, which is unfinished business automatic failure policy.
Yes, the committee voted for the first term to suspend the automatic failure policy, meaning that a student cannot fail for having unexcused absences. This happens at the middle school and high school level. And we were looking to relax that policy for term 2. Again, this is nothing to do with allowing students to pass if they're not passing. If they're not doing their work and not earning passing grades, then obviously they would receive the grade that they've earned. This would just not automatically fail them if they were already passing the class and they had too many absences. Then they would automatically fail. Even if they were passing, they would go down. So if a student had an 80 and they were absent too many times, then their grade would be brought back down to a 59. But if a student was earning a 58 and not passing, then that's the grade that they would earn. We would just, again, relax for term 2 the automatic failure policy.
Thank you. It's just carrying it over from what we did before. So
Correct.
Is there any motion from members of the school committee relative to that matter?
I'll make a motion to extend the suspension of the automatic failure policy through for term 2.
There's a motion made. Is there a second on that, please?
Second.
A motion made, properly second. We'll take a roll. Sullivan, Chair says yes. Vice Chair D'Agostino.
Yes.
Ms. Azak.
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan.
Yes.
Hereby passes. Thank you, everybody. We have, I don't believe we have any other unfinished business before us, but we do have agenda 12, which is new business. Is there any new business before us? I just wanted to give an update, if I could, relative to the distribution of the vaccines. I want to thank Dr. Cobbs. I want to thank Ken Thompson and Jamie Domestico, and of course, Dr. Murray and the superintendent. We will be utilizing Brockton High School. That is the plan that was established under Mayor Jack Units in the event that we needed to ever do a citywide distribution of vaccines. And now is the time we need to do that. So we will be utilizing, starting Monday, the red cafeteria and the red IRC. It will be for distribution of phase 1, which is vaccines for our frontline police and fire and other frontline staff. I want to thank again, also Chartwell's. We'll be getting food from Chartwell's for the nurses and the paramedics that will be administering the shots. I want to thank Linda Cahill, Dr. Cahill, and the school nurses that are going to be helping us administer the shots. Also the 3 city nurses, and again, Steve Hook from BEMA. But it will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 12-hour shifts. It'll be 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then on Thursday will be a catch-all for 4 to 6 hours if need be. The vaccines did come to the city of Brockton today, which is wonderful. We knew they were coming this week. We just didn't have a hard date, and they came today. I also want to thank Mike and his leadership team for allowing us to locate a freezer that the city acquired under the CARES Act for $13,000. We needed a special freezer for the vaccine. Moderna and Pfizer needed to have temperature control. So as you all know, we no longer have the Harbor One Bank outside in the core, right outside the red cafeteria. They actually, because of COVID, they needed to vacate. Although they are still providing the training for our students at the Belmont branch. But we are utilizing that space right now. And I want to thank Mike for allowing us to do that. So that's just an update. You'll have additional updates as we move forward. But again, this is just phase 1 of the distribution of the vaccines. And we are utilizing, again, the Brockton High Red. And I want to thank the Dean, Kerry Cobb, for allowing us to work. We've been working on weeks now, Mike and I, and certain team members on the city and school side. And we will effectuate a plan, and the plan will work extremely well starting Monday. So just wanted to give the school committee members an update relative to that matter. Any additional new business? Mr. D'Agostino, please.
Yeah, I have one item. I have had a couple of constituents reach out to me regarding this. We had discussed this in an earlier meeting and made it a part of the MOA with the union. And I know the superintendent and I had a conversation this week. about it. And what this is at least maybe for those, maybe the younger grades or the transition year grades, as I've been calling them, your K6 and 9. I wanted to see if what the committee felt about basically trying to arrange, even if it's only a half hour or 45-minute outdoor, a few students at a time meet up at the schools. And I bring this up because, again, we had talked about it, but I have had more and more parents reaching out, relating their concern about the fact that these kids haven't had any interaction with other kids. Obviously for safety reasons, I think the safest way, and because the time of year, they'd have to be shorter time meetings, and we'd have to do them outdoors. We couldn't provide transportation. I think that would be a nightmare to try and finagle how we would do that. So it would be on the parents to get their kids there. But I wanted to see what the committee's thoughts were on that. If I'm the only one hearing from people, maybe I am.
Any school committee members want to follow up on what the vice chair just talked about? Guess there's none on that right now, Mark.
Yeah. Okay.
And Mr. D'Agostino, we can, I'll talk to Kim Gibson, and I can have a conversation about this when we meet again this week.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, I have had constituents reach out, so I told them I would bring it up for discussion. So, okay. All right.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to Kim, and then there was something in our first MOU about meet and greets, and they were hard to do back when we first opened because with transportation, and then the issue of making sure that online learning got off. So we couldn't, teachers having to teach fully remote, and then being able to make sure that the kids at home were still learning while they were meeting students. So it was, at that time, was difficult. We wanted to make sure we got remote learning off on the right foot, as we have, because we've been recognized as one of few districts doing the most live teaching. But now that is running, we can have the conversation of some, possibly some outside meet and greets, and students doing asynchronous work. And but we can definitely have the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and again, maybe no one else is hearing about this, but I wanted to just bring it up for discussion. It may not be something that's viable, but at least at least it's worth looking at it, and again at the request of a few parents. So thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Augustine. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Any additional new business before us this evening? I do just want the committee to be aware that I had drafted a letter in my capacity as mayor to the superintendent relative to bringing the notion of the Keith Center to the facilities committee. We need to have a discussion about that location. As you know, it has been deemed as a potential site for a new public safety location. So the subcommittee known as facilities will need to address that and discuss that in the near future. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. Any other matters before us tonight? If none, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn, please. Somebody.
Motion to,
come on, somebody.
motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Judy. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made. It was properly seconded. Chair Sullivan, yes. Vice Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mrs. Mendez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Yes. Sullivan.
Yes.
That passes again. I want to wish everybody a happy and healthy 2021. We have a lot of work to do, but we're going to do it together. So thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.